Welcome into Trucker Talk Radio. You're on with J and J. Carrie's in the background. I'm John. This is Justin. How you doing, Justin?
Doing pretty good. And you today?
Good. We got a new pope.
That's right. We do.
Pope
Took him
Leo X.
Yeah.
Pope Leo the 14th. They saw white smoke, so that was pretty quick.
Yeah. Yeah, they seemed concerned last night on the television that they hadn't come up with them. I'm like, well, I would feel better if it was a couple-day decision more than just, first time out.
Yeah, and he goes by Father Bob here in America. He's the first American pope there's ever been. And a lot of people said there would never be an American pope.
Yeah, I'm surprised.
But he did it. It's so congratulations to him. God bless him. And I am Catholic, so it does mean a lot. It means a lot to my family, and so yeah. I mean, it's exciting. It'll be interesting. I'm sure he'll make a visit to America, and it'll be interesting to hear him. He's been a missionary over in Peru, and he can speak several languages, I guess. Definitely Spanish and Italian. He spoke Italian today when he was during his introduction, but there was a lot of people. Did you see all the people there?
Yes, it was a lot. It was a lot. Let me ask you. I probably should have been Catholic. I'm basically full-blooded Irish, which is what, a lot of Catholics are, but I was never brought up that way. So for the individual church that, you attend, what role does the Vatican, does that ever come into much play, or is it just kind of like in our Baptist church, it's just basically centralized?
It's just the doctrine. Yeah, they set the rules pretty much. They set the rules. They determine, what it takes to become a Catholic, what you have to go through, the catechism. Carrie, are you Catholic? I guess she's muted herself. So, but yeah, so it's basically just you set the rules.
Okay, I was curious.
Yeah, the Catholic Church has been around for a very long time, and the Pope kind of acts as he oversees the religion and make sure that we're following the doctrine and all that good stuff. So, and he kind of he advocates for certain things. It'll be interesting to see. There's a big I guess hoopla in the Catholic faith on whether or not it used to be if you were homosexual you weren't allowed into the Catholic Church. It was considered a sin, and I think Pope Francis has deviated from that a little bit. This Pope who went by Father Bob in America, he's from Chicago originally, but he's agreed with Pope Francis. So it'll be interesting to see like the political side of this and see who he even said today, he said, this church is for everyone. And for me, I'm fine with it. I'm okay with it. I think you need to show compassion and forgiveness for all those people and, let them in. And if they are indeed Catholic and then they discover they're gay, I really don't care. Historically, the church has seen that as a sin, and they've kind of like banished you from the church. That's changed over the years, and so it'll be interesting to see what this Pope's stance on it is. Did you see the movie, The Conclave?
No, I can't say it. Now, I've seen a lot of documentary movies about the Catholic Church, but they all just, honestly, in my opinion, portray the Catholic Church as the rulers of the world for all that time during, the early ages of mankind through, Alexander the Great and all them, where, basically you just called out their army and they took care of stuff for you. But I don't guess I even have anybody that I know personally that is Catholic. I guess you'd be the first one. So never been around it very much, even though I'm part of my family, but
it's not as common in the South. In Cincinnati, where I lived for a long time, my parents lived there. There's a Catholic church on every corner, Catholic school on every corner. The Catholics, and the Catholic festival every weekend, Oktoberfest, a lot of drinking in the Catholic church.
Yes, yeah.
Catholics know how to party.
That's right.
But so there are some issues and political issues that will I'm sure that will present itself with this Pope. But it's exciting that he is an American. And it's exciting to see what that will do for the Catholic faith and how it will. I think there's a lot of things other Christian faiths do better than Catholics in terms of, being more welcoming, not having kind of like an initiation type deal, or, a catechism to go with Catholics call catechism to go through. I think, Christian churches, some, see them as more welcoming than the Catholic faith.
Right.
So that's something that will be interesting to see what this Pope does to, it sounds like he wants to change that a little bit. So it'll be interesting.
I know, like, I'm Baptist, so we eat better than anybody. That's the Baptist thing. We eat 12 o'clock. We're out the door. We're eating or having a potluck. But
That's right.
The one thing that I've seen, like with really any church down here where I live in the South, churches have become a business more than a church. And
they have.
To me, that
and
is really
the Catholic Church is guilty of that as well.
That to me has really hurt churches. I mean, I went to a church.
It's hurt the idea of religion, right? I mean, it's
It has.
seen as a profit center.
Yes, because I went to a church. It's been a while since I've been to this one. It was a huge Baptist church in the suburbs of Memphis. Honestly, they had 3 services every Sunday. Probably had, I don't know, $100 million worth of people value sitting at every of the 3 services. The church was huge, double decker, probably sitting on $2 or $3 million worth of property that was most of it unused.
Yep.
And they passed the regular hat around, teal. And then behind it, they sent another one with like 6 envelopes in it. And I'm thinking, okay, well, you don't need that much money. You're getting huge amounts from these very rich people, but then you want them to do them like, yeah, that's just and I've noticed that more and more. And 2, I came from a very small church. Because I actually left, my parents were Church of Christ. I didn't believe in a single thing they said. So I went to the Baptist church.
My wife was her family is all Church of Christ. Her mom is, and her mom and stepdad are Church of Christ. Her grandmother was Church of Christ. Her grandmother used to think, and her mom and stepdad are, they're very good religious people and they read the Bible every day. But her grandmother used to think that the church in Ironton, Ohio, small little town of Ironton, Ohio, because it was the Church of Christ, she thought that was the actual only Church of Christ.
Yeah. Well, even where I went to this church, if you wasn't Church of Christ, you didn't go to heaven. And I'm like,
we had a Catholic wedding, and my wife's grandmother had a real hard time with it, and was just like, all these people are going to hell, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way it was. They didn't play any music, no organs, no piano.
Yeah,
and then they didn't believe,
and not very good singers.
Yeah, you're right, exactly. And so I left and went to the Baptist church, and they had a great youth department, and that's what kind of led me to it. And it stayed there, still a member, but it grew like 2 times, and then it lost knowing you when you walked in the door, and everybody on a first name basis. And I miss that because I liked that. I didn't want to go to a humongous church where you were basically, at the church they'll have the little placard. And they'll put how many people attended church, how many attended Sunday school. I didn't want it to be a number. I wanted you to be a Christian or human being or something. So it's kind of lost that because it's gotten such big. And 2, I've noticed in churches, I don't know if the Catholic Church, because y'all don't really have multiple churches. Like you don't have First Baptist, Second Baptist, Southern Baptist. Well, a big thing that I notice here in the South is if there's a disagreement on money or something, half the congregation leaves and just starts another church. And that's is about as aggravating as I get with church, because just work it out, figure it out. You don't need to go down the road 2 miles.
Catholics don't really have that problem, and they pretty much, everything stays just so. And there is the Greek Orthodox, and then there's the Roman Catholic Church. There are some differences there. Apostolic Church, there are some, there's some differences in that. But I think what really Catholicism doesn't do good is about getting children, on fire for Jesus Christ. They don't, it's just kind of going through the motions. Although I will say, as my sons have gotten older, they've experienced other churches, and I encourage that, to find out where you can, best, worship and, profess your faith, and they've been pulled back to the Catholic Church. So it just, but I think Christian churches, Baptist and non-denominational churches, I don't know too many of the others except for Church of Christ, but I think they do a good job of educating children on the Bible. So we won't get into this. I didn't mean for this religious discussion to go on so long. You'll see I'm in my bedroom. I am getting really hot. My wife has banished me to the bedroom, and I'm still trying to find my place, finding where I can get most comfortable. I may have to go get an office where I can do this because she's kicked me out of my home office to start her business, and her business takes priority. So I am hot. But welcome to my bedroom. I showed the last time I tried to put up a digital backdrop, and my wife said it looked like crap. So anyway, welcome in. This is where the magic happens.
That's right. That's the magic room.
I did get my head shaved today, though. Have you ever gotten your head shaved?
No, I've never. I'd like to.
Man,
I'm curious
it's
to
the
see how
best.
long you can go before you actually need to shave
For
it.
any of you guy drivers out there and girls, I mean, if you like going that way or whatever. But if to go to a barbershop and having your head shaved, it's an incredible experience. I mean, they take this razor, this nice comfortable razor going over your head, kind of massages your head while it shaves it, gets it down pretty low, and then he wrapped me in the hot towel, like he put lotion, like this foam lotion on my head that was warm, and then wrapped me in a hot towel all around my face.
Mm-hmm.
And then took it off, and then put on more of the warm lotion or foam, and shaved it with a straight razor, and then made sure it was right down, silky smooth, and then put some cooling lotion on and massaged my head, and then did my neckline.
Oh yeah.
And basically did the same thing. Put a hot towel on, and yeah. So you got to do it, man. It's
I'll
awesome.
try it. I'm curious, just like I said, to see how long you go. Because like that, mine is a day old, and within
So I
6,
don't
8
go
hours.
look, I feel like I can do a better job in the shower, but I go to sit in the barber chair. I go to sit there for it's an hour. I mean, even my son,
wow.
I mean, it's an hour. There are two people in the other chair next to me, but by the time I'm done, there are two people that have finished. So yeah, my son was like, "Why on earth do you go? I mean, you're going to spend $40 to get that." I don't do it very often. I do it like once every couple months, but it's a little treat, and go there and sit, and it's comforting. So
I'll
you should
try
try
that
it.
then. All right, I will. I'll definitely will.
Some states they won't do it. Kentucky, they won't do a straight razor.
Why is that?
I don't.
Liability or
They've
something?
they too much liability, I guess. Yeah,
Well, heck, you just sign a waiver like you do everything else, and then hop in the chair.
that's right. And what do we got next? What we're going to talk about today?
What about this Notre
Oh,
Dame and Clemson
let's
deal?
go into this. Let's go into this. We haven't been focused on trucking too much, and
Okay.
I know some of our listeners get a little aggravated about that. But let's talk about the SAP program. You had brought that up. You got some drivers that are going through that now.
Yeah. It's So if for y'all that don't know it, because I have a lot of guys ask, that's the substance abuse program. I don't know exactly when it was set up. It's probably even in my show notes here, but so it was set up for guys who, fail a drug test, refusal. That's one thing I think a lot of guys don't realize. If you refuse a drug test while at the facility and you walk out, that's the same thing as you failing a drug test. And it's a way they tell you where you can get back to work really fast. And I know we've talked about this a little bit before. It seems like the trucking industry is really about the only industry that I know right off that you can have a mistake and then you end up losing your opportunity to work. I know you can be a doctor and fail a drug test. You can work your way back fairly quickly to doing the job you were doing, or at least something close. And with the truck driving, it's not the same, which, as me and you have said before, truck drivers have got to be responsible because they're driving a missile, right? They're driving a huge 80, 100,000, piece of equipment, and it doesn't take very much to be catastrophic on the highway. We see wrecks like that all the time. But the SAP program was, brought up for that, to have a way for guys to re-enter the system, got to go through some classes, got to take a lot of drug tests. But there's a few little loopholes that a lot of drivers don't understand. And so my one message to everybody is really think before you want to do that. Before you think you got time to get something out of your system. You're always going to be in that range for a random that can happen anytime. And remember, not only are you on a random, but if your company you're with ends up having suspicions of what you're doing. If they think you're smoking, some pot, or that you drink on your 10-hour break and you don't really have time to get it out of your system, they can set up a random just like that for you. So, just be responsible. But the big issue is the SAP program, in my opinion, is made out to be, well, hey, you pay $600-800, whatever it is, and we will have you up and going, in 2 or 3 4 months. Well, the misconception is, in my opinion, if you are not getting hired back by the company that you failed the test with, or whatever, it gets
Mm-hmm.
very difficult from that point to get back on a job. It's a big insurance cost to carriers to bring
That's
you
the biggest
on.
thing. It's a huge, and that's why a lot of companies don't do it, is because of
Yeah,
the
it's just
insurance costs.
yeah, it just jacks up everybody's insurance that they have across the board. And there are carriers out there that will work with you. I know several that'll work with you after a year after that incident, and that you're completely done with all your bring on, your back onboarding drug tests. Because I don't know how many exactly, but I think it's like 6 or 8 that you have to take in a short span. Which I agree it needs to be. You need to show that you are clean and you're responsible. But there's loopholes that I talk about. And so, like, a lot of these companies will bring you back on in 2 or 3 years after the incident, but you got to have 2 years of recent experience in the last 5. And so it makes it very difficult. And I had the one guy I was telling you about the other day. I felt sorry for him when we got to talking. I was just honest with him, trying to be as nice as possible. But he had his CDL for 6 months, and already he was on the SAP program. And I just politely told the gentleman, I said, I think you might just want to make a career change. It's going to be such an uphill battle. But there's guys I know that are very successful, that's got with the right company at the right time, and it's back running,
So how
and
long do they
everything's
need to
good.
stay with that company that offers the SAP program?
I don't think it's any certain time. They just have to get with the company to finish up their testing, and then it doesn't matter. But
Does
but
it
if
get
you
expunged? Does the SAP, or does the drug test, the failed drug test, does that fall off their record after so much
now
time if they go through the SAP program?
I've been told two different things. Of course, I don't get to see the back office, stuff as an onboarder, but they tell the drivers that in 5 years it'll come off. But I get told by onboarders they always see it. It's still, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
maybe on their MVR, or clearinghouse. I guess it never really falls off. I don't think they can be penalized for it after 5 years. But
Well, there's
again,
some
we
companies that say they won't. They that still say they will not
mhm,
take a failed drug test ever.
exactly. And
Which I don't believe that there's any other industry like that. I mean, so they'll
mm-mm,
take a felon, they'll take a former felon 7 years after the fact, but they won't take someone who failed a drug test.
that's right,
Who
exactly.
likely the problem I have with it is, especially down here in Florida, if you have a medical card, if a driver has a medical card, look, it doesn't matter while you're on the road. You shouldn't be using it while you're on the road. But if you come off the road for a long weekend and you take a
Yeah.
gummy, it's not. But if you took a gummy by Friday, even by Saturday morning, you are not impacted by that gummy whatsoever. So it looks like this SEP. I didn't realize it's been around for as long as it has. It's been
Mm-hmm.
around since the late '90s, early 2000s. It
Yep.
looks like it was in the Motor Carrier Safety Improvement Act of 1999, created by the FMCSA, and that established the framework for the program. So
Yeah.
I
Well,
didn't realize it had been around that long. I just heard about it probably 4 or 5
well,
years ago.
well, and two, that right there is a good point you bring up, and I know we talked about this a couple weeks ago with that lawsuit that was finally won. It needs to probably be updated, because you have so much of this CBC stuff. It's like in hand lotions and creams and
Hmm.
supplements, that it triggers it. The problem is, and that guy we talked about a couple weeks ago, you want to fight it. I hear stuff, from guys all the time talking about, well, I took this and it was a medication that I didn't really have a
Right.
prescription for,
Yeah,
but
no, and I've had guys that have experienced. One guy, he experienced severe back pain. He was at his brother's house. Had to get off the road. He was at his brother's house, and he took oxycodone and didn't have a prescription for it. Had he had a prescription for it, it would have been fine. But he just took it
yeah,
because he didn't want to pay for a doctor visit. And
yeah,
then he was getting a new job a couple weeks later, and it was still in his system. I guess he had probably taken it, 2 days before coming on the job. He said the back pain was nonstop. And then once he got on the road, he stopped taking it. Or once he was going to get on the road, he stopped taking it.
Yep.
So, but he went in for his drug test, and they failed him. And he said, if you had a prescription for it, we wouldn't have failed you. But it basically ruined his career.
Yeah, and there's a lot of things like that happens, and they just tell you real quick, hey, you go do the SAP program, we can have you rolling. But a lot of times, and you're in a difficult situation, right? You can't really fight the system. You can fight it and win it like that gentleman did, but it went all the way up to the Supreme Court. Well, no one has time, realistically, especially truck drivers don't have the money to be off work for a year and do something different to try to win. They just pay the money to go back to work. And so it's a very tough situation because, like you just said, there's no true second chance, no way back to redemption. In my opinion, everybody deserves a second chance, no matter what it is in life. That's just kind of the way life is. I think you should. Now, like I said, it's dangerous situations.
So many people used to see marijuana as kind of the gateway drug. I know that's how my dad feels about it, and it's not the gateway drug. It's not.
No.
I have plenty of friends who take gummies, and on the weekends it doesn't impact their life. It's not going to lead to coke.
No.
It's not going to lead to taking, different kinds of drugs. And they do just fine. And actually it helps them relax. They can use it instead of other, pain medication that is more addicting. And there's I'm sorry?
Well, I was going to say the NFL has almost been okay because these guys are using it to get to feeling better and to help with the aches and pains. I mean, in my opinion, I didn't want to cut you off. Truck drivers, in my opinion, probably have a lot of the same kind of aches and pains. You sit, get bounced around, beat up all day in your truck. You don't really get to stretch out, and none of them hardly have time to exercise or want to get out of the truck. Or go.
Yeah, most of them deal with weight issues.
Yeah, so I mean, they need something because I couldn't imagine sitting in a truck 24 hours a day, basically, 40 weeks, 50 weeks out of the year. I mean, that's a toll on your body. And,
right.
I mean, yeah.
Well, what's the difference in them going home and having a beer, having a half case of beer and, or having a couple drinks, then going home and having a couple gummies or smoking a joint if that's what they want to do.
Yeah. I mean, it's a tough situation. And the one thing that I wished was explained better as well is the walking out. I mean, I don't know how many guys that I've talked to and said, yeah, I was there. I didn't pass enough urine. They want me to sit here and drink a couple bottles of water, or something's wrong and they got to wait a little bit, or they just get there for some reason and didn't drink enough before they got there, and they can't make enough urine, and know they can't. So they don't even want to take it. Well, it's too late. Once you basically walk through them doors and let them know who you are, there's no going back. And a lot of guys will just walk out, and it's career suicide. And you didn't even, you're not illegal. You just need to bite your tongue, ask for a couple bottles of water, and go to chugging till you can, make enough urine to move forward. And a lot of guys don't understand that. And I don't think any of the people behind the desk at the analysis are telling them, like, hey, if you leave, you're gonna go into the SAP program, because it's not their job to tell them that and to deal with it. And that happens a lot, which I hate. But I can't say anything because I lose my temper in a heartbeat.
Yeah, you gotta keep your cool if that's legitimately the case.
Mm-hmm.
Too many times I had guys, I'd call places and I'd be like, and I'd be like, what happened with this guy? And they're like, he walked out. And they're like, the reason why he walked out was because he had a bag of pee and the temperature wasn't right. So, and then when and they're like, I've gotten them even second chances where I'm like, okay, you can go back in. I've spoken with the lady at the desk. She said, go back in, be there in 10 minutes, and they'll let you do it again. And then they don't show up. So it's, and I'm like, this is going on your record. And, or you're going to have to get in the SAP program. And in that instance, most of these guys are just lying. And look, if you're going to test positive, don't go, delay it. Delay it. Even if it's a random delay, you're better off delaying it.
You're better off telling the truth. You really are.
Well, you are, but also if you know that some things that you'll find is like the dispatcher on border was supposed to tell you, they're supposed to give you, I believe, 30 days notice for a random thing. I think that's the case in
Well,
driving,
now the
or it
trucks
used
that
to
I've
be.
ever, yeah, the way that it's worked at the last two companies that I had to do it, we as the dispatcher had to figure out what day within a 30-day period, because they'll first of the
That's what
month
it,
they'll
yeah.
do it. They'll send you a list. And then once you know that driver is going to be either home or is going to be delayed, for a load, you send it to them then. They set it up. You send it to them and say, hey, you gotta go by X amount of
Right. You're not
within a couple
supposed to
hours.
tell them as the dispatcher or the agent. You're not
Right.
supposed to tell them. They say they need this test within the next 30 days. And then what, they have 24 hours to get it done?
Nope. Nope. It's worse than that. So, like I say, if I call in to the corporate and say, "Hey, John he's home. It's Friday morning, 10 o'clock. He's now delivered home. He can go take it." You still don't know as a driver. So then the safety person would email me and say, "Okay, he can go to this testing zone," and basically you have a couple hours to get there. And so then I
Okay.
contact you and go,
Okay.
"Hey, John, you've been selected for a
So
random."
you or that agent knows basically that they have 30 days. The driver does
We
not.
just
That's
have to
right.
try to
That is right.
Yeah, you just kind of try to figure it out. Now, I've never kind of gave them a head's notice, because the way I look at it, if you're doing drugs, you don't need to be on, you need to get
Yeah.
cleaned up and be punished for it. But, I've never had to worry about that. But let me ask you, have you ever had a drug test? Have you ever had to do the pee in the cup?
I've had, well, yeah.
Okay. Because
Yeah.
I did it one time, make a funny story real fast. I had to do it during a court battle for custody.
Oh, did you?
Yes. And God rest my daughter's mother's soul. It was my ideal to do it because I knew she'd fail. So we both go in the same bathroom. We both basically do it at the same time. Well, for some reason, mine tested positive for cocaine.
Wow.
Boy, she was living it up, raising 10 kinds of heck. And I looked at the lady that was in there with me, because she actually went into the stall with me and watched, which I didn't have a problem with. And I said, that's wrong. I said, I'm the one that set the test up. I said, I haven't done anything in 20 years. There's no
Right.
need of me doing anything. And of course, she tested positive for hydrocodone and stuff. So, and of course, I had to retake it right then. Luckily, I still had enough urine, and it was. And they said, yeah, one out of every, I think it was 10,000 packets that they poured into will test positive for something. I'm like, good Lord, had y'all not have gave me a good packet, so I didn't have to go through it. It's like, geez. So I can see where you can get yourself in a pickle. And I just kept my comments of like, hey, let's do a retest right now.
Yeah, my son he actually was applying for jobs and graduating high school and ended up taking a gummy and applied for a bunch of jobs, didn't get anything, and took a gummy, and then um, got the notification a couple of weeks later that he was getting a job and needed to go drug test. And so I ordered him a drug test on Amazon just to make sure that he was
Right.
clean,
Smart idea.
and ended up being clean and fine. But I said, you need to take this test before you go,
Yes. Well,
before you go and
exactly.
fail, because that'll
Well,
ruin you for the rest of your life.
Well, and one thing that I think society needs to figure out in the government as well, and I've done both. I've drank, I've smoked. Smoking marijuana is a lot safer than drinking alcohol. I don't care what anybody tells you. You are more. I mean, neither one of them's great if you're behind the wheel. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying that to me, drinking is worse than smoking, because you lose all ambitions when you're erratic. You can pass out a whole lot easier. Now, like, yeah, you can smoke and go to sleep, but you're more attentive when you're smoking. And so, they call it that gateway drug. I just drinking ain't any better in your surroundings. So they
Yeah,
need to
you
make
said
it.
you're right. Yeah, and I found out that, if I drink Diet Coke with bourbon, I get mad. I get in a bad mood. If I just drink bourbon just with water, if I drink beer, wine, anything else, number one, well, and also I can't mix.
Right.
If I mix any alcohol, if I have a bourbon and then just one glass and then have a glass of wine with dinner that night, I am hungover, have a horrible headache the next morning. I'm just miserable. But speaking about being erratic, so we meant to get to this story on
Yeah.
Tuesday. So this Kentucky where I'm from and Carrie's from, this Kentucky lottery winner.
That's y'all's people.
Yeah, went down to Florida, I guess Naples, Florida. He's 39 years old from Georgetown, Kentucky. He won $167 million. $167 million. So he went down with his girlfriend. Is that right, Carrie?
Yep.
Father, his name is James Fothering. His 42-year-old girlfriend's name, get this, Jacqueline Fightmaster. And so they went down to Naples. I guess he was going to either Naples. No, did he go down to? No, he went down to St. Pete. Oh, so right in my backyard.
Yeah,
He went down to St. Pete
you.
Beach. Trade winds. I know this hotel well.
I do too. I actually know that.
Yeah.
One.
Yeah, so it's in a kind of like it's the St. Pete Beach area, but it's a little bit of it can be a rough area.
He fit right in.
That Trade Winds Hotel is the nicest hotel in the area, or one of the nicest. There are just some nicer areas of the beach, but anyway, so he was at a bar, and I guess that he what did he do? He's charged with battery on a law enforcement officer. So he kicked a law enforcement officer. Yeah. He got into a fight at the hotel. He got into a fight at the bar. The Pinellas County Sheriff's deputy attempted to break out, and Farthing allegedly kicked him in the face.
If you're gonna do it, do it right.
Win $167 million. And you go to the bar. Number one, I think he originally did the nicest thing, going and buying around for the whole bar. But why on earth would you allow yourself to get into an altercation? What kind of moron are you? And on top of that, he's been in jail before. So he was paroled, and I guess his parole was going to end in August. So he has to. Because he got into another issue where he's been convicted of a crime, he automatically has to serve those. So what would we? Yeah, so it's he'd have 3 months. He's definitely got to serve 3 months. No question. And I guess he's back up in Kentucky now, but figuring out what's going to happen to him, and it's national news, so they're going to pin him to the wall. And he hit a cop, so they're absolutely going to make an example of him.
He hit all the bells and whistles. If you're gonna screw up big is the way he looked at it. Just do it.
Yeah, and you see this a lot with lottery winners. Like,
yes,
they spiral out of control. One of the problems is they start telling people they won the lottery, and then everybody becomes like freaking leeches, and they just And there's so many suicide rates are extremely high among lottery winners. I think if I won the lottery, I would probably go to some remote island and be like, I'm buying the island, I'm living on the island, and
Yeah, I could only imagine winning, and then all these people just come out of the woodworks for you. We were best friends, in elementary school. Well, okay, don't mean I need to give you anything. I'd tell very few people. And if I could be anonymous winner, that's how I would first do it. I wouldn't even want a picture made with the check. Just like I'd pay somebody a bunch of money, just go in my place and act like they won it. Give them a couple $1 billion. Hey, just go up there and act like you be my stunt double or something. Yeah, but you're right. I see it all the time. I mean, they even have there's a television show, I think, on Lifetime or Discover or something, about the crazy acting people after they win the lottery and them going bankrupt, and just, it's sad because
the Kentucky Lottery's, I guess, distancing themselves from this. So Florida's gonna make an example of him. So I imagine he'll be back down here. And Pinellas County is not the best county to get arrested.
Yeah, he's probably lucky he didn't get on PD Live or whatever, because they use Pinellas. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, Paw Patrol. Yeah, they're in Pinellas a good bit.
Yeah,
that live show.
Yeah, that's crazy. It just goes to show you. I mean, money doesn't solve problems. Money a lot of times just magnifies the problem.
Yeah,
and especially if you've got family around and friends around that are they're looking to feed off of you.
Well, and two, I think that's one of the reasons why professional athletes struggle. They get this kind of money. They don't, a lot of them don't, but the majority of the big names do. And they have so many people just leech on to them, and I guess you lose your inhibition, of really what a dollar means, and you just go out and, it's one thing to take, and go buy a nice house, nice car, pay everything off. But when you start getting beyond that and, going to the club and spending, $50,000 on a bottle of
Yeah,
champagne.
you need to lay low. Look, this guy didn't
Yes,
have any worries. Even if he's probably going to get 60% of the money if he takes the cash option. He is set for life. He can lay low. Why? I understand you're going down to, I thought it was Naples, but I guess it's St. Pete. You're going down to the beach area. You're gonna buy a nice condo, penthouse in the sky, or home along the beach. You're set up. Go there, buy the house, stay away from the clubs, stay away from the bars, and you can set up your own club at your own house and have your own party.
exactly.
And I just think you need to keep people at a distance and find out who your real friends are. The people who come around and and even family members makes it so hard.
Yep.
Because everybody wants a handout.
And they expect it. That's what's bad.
They
Most of your
expect it.
family just expect it, and it's
Yeah, man. I see it. We just had the NFL draft, and you see these people that are. It's a little sad for these players, these young players, and they have these big parties and these posses, and some of them are just no good.
Yep.
And they're around these people. I mean, Chad Johnson used to talk about it all the time.
Yep.
You got to get those people. They're just rats.
You can even go down to college now with the NIL. I think that Nico from Tennessee is a prime example. He had people in his ear telling him he's worth
like,
more.
$1 million's not enough. You need 5 million or whatever the number was. And now he's
doing it. Yeah, he's in UCLA, going not get hardly anything because.
Did he get? What did they end up giving him? Did they disclose it? I guess they don't.
Yeah, they gave him a little less than $2 million, but after taxes, he's going to end up with $900,000. And he left Tennessee a non-income tax state.
What did Tennessee give him? Do you know what Tennessee was?
Tennessee was a little over, about the same. It was a little over $2 million, but he wanted $4 million. And Tennessee wouldn't give $1 more.
So Tennessee was giving a little bit more.
Yeah, Tennessee was giving a little bit more. Plus, it was
he probably, if he was professional about it, he probably could have gotten a little bit more out of Tennessee.
And see, this is the issue with NIL. I know we ain't really supposed to be on that subject, but
we're going to get into some more college football. We're right on topic.
There is an issue that people don't understand, and these kids definitely don't. And I wouldn't have either at that age either. But you think about it, just like with the NFL or NBA or hockey or whatever. You have a base salary, right? There's incentives to get more money on every contract that's written. So, if they don't want to give you more than $2 million, say, okay, if we make it to the SEC championship game, we make it to the national championship, bump us up, or if I do so many touchdowns. That's how you try to negotiate it, because that's not guaranteed money that's got to come, and then you have to work for it. But the way society is, I want now.
Show them that you want to work. Show them that you're not looking for a handout.
Exactly, and that's the issue, I think.
And that's he's getting bad advice. He's just getting bad advice. He doesn't have the right people in his ear, and when you're at that level, you need to,
you need
his parents. He needs to interview people and keep a tight knit community.
Yes,
that can help him make the right decisions and be smart about it. But speaking of college football, so Carrie sent this over to me, and I really didn't. She sent this over to us, and I really didn't think. I had to read on it to really think about it, how big it is, and it is big. 12-year Notre Dame versus Clemson football series. This is really big. It's big for both schools. The non-conference schedule is so important, especially now with the college playoff. It's going to be a nationally televised game every year. Who knows what's going to happen with the ACC? It guarantees both schools a big game. And the SEC is going to a 9-game conference schedule, which will take away one of the non-conference games. And the SEC, they pretty much, all their games are going to be, except for maybe Kentucky, Vanderbilt, all the games are huge. Even Missouri's in that mix now. I hope Kentucky gets back there, but it's all, the point is all those games are big games. So when you have a Clemson or Notre Dame, they got to lock down those marquee matchups and set the those rivalry games. It's important for them to have a huge non-conference schedule. I mean, you look at Indiana. Look what happened to Indiana. They didn't. The constant argument was like, who have they played?
That's right.
Who have they played? And then they get beat handedly by a college playoff team.
Yep.
So
well, I think too and I think this is a bigger benefit for Notre Dame than it is Clemson. And the reason why I say that is Notre Dame is, if they're doing everything they can not to become a conference. And ACC is the conference it seems like they kind of align themselves with all sports, and then their football, because I think they play already a certain number of teams. In my opinion, I think they're a better Big Ten fit for where their geography and stuff. But the Big Ten, they don't want to go somewhere that they don't have an opportunity to win. If they had to go the ACC, they would probably be in a title game every year there, and I don't blame them for that. But I do think it's a big deal because some of the teams that Notre Dame has had, long rivals, the Navy, Army, they're just not the caliber of games that they need to make sure if they do lose a game, they still have an opportunity to make the playoff.
It really incentivizes teams to have these high profile matchups. You're going to schedule tougher.
You have
in
to
the non-conference. You
have to because you look at it. The SEC, you have 2 losses. You're still pretty much in the playoffs because of the schedules they play. So you have to.
Yeah. So okay. Well, did I lose you? Justin?
I'm here. My screen went away.
I think your internet may have gone south a little bit.
Might have. It's storming here. If you can hear me.
Is it storming there?
Yeah.
Oh wow, it's sunny here in Florida. Sunny. We don't have it, although we are getting into the rainy season now. I've lost your image, Justin. I've lost your.
Yeah, I don't know what happened.
So, what else were we going to talk on here? Some of the struggles with the Real ID, and I wanted to go over this with you, Justin, because I know you just got your Real ID. Residents in some states, I believe Kentucky's one of them, Tennessee may be another, are complaining about long wait times at DMV for appointments and being turned away without one. So, and I guess when you're traveling, you now have to have a Real ID. Florida's had it for a while. I've had my Real ID for a couple of years now. There you are. I got you back.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Picture's better than ever. But yeah, I know you just went and got your Real ID. There's, it's an issue around the country now. And I guess there's increased screenings if you don't have a Real ID at the airport. So they're encouraging you to bring your passports with you. You just got yours, didn't you?
Yeah. To be honest, I didn't even know about it. To me, one of the big issues is it wasn't advertised as much. I didn't know much about it until I started getting mine and my daughter's summer trip together. And then I was planning on flying for some business really soon. And that's when I really figured it out. And I'm in a small town, small area, not a huge area. And it was like middle of June. I started trying to get mine the end of April. And it was going to be the middle to end of June before I could get an appointment. That's how far out it was. So I just got up one morning. Yeah, I walked in and I sat there for almost 3.5 hours. And was able to get it. But then I didn't get anything that helps. I have to wait 30 days. So you have to use it in a birth certificate because I unfortunately don't have a passport. Got to re-up mine, but I was waiting till my daughter turned 16 so she would have one for multiple years.
What does the Real ID do? It meets enhanced security standards. I see that, but what is the purpose of the Real ID?
To get on an airplane.
Just with that star, that's it. Yep. That star just designates it that it's an official ID.
You're a true citizen, I guess, because it don't. To me, you should be able to use it to vote, but it don't anything for voting, which makes no sense to me.
I mean, is there a big problem with fake IDs? I don't
think so.
I know my kids have had fake IDs. I know I used to have a fake ID in college.
But I don't know why you'd want a fake ID to fly. I mean, to fly internationally, okay, yeah, but that's what the passport.
But you still need a passport, right? I mean, the Real ID doesn't cancel out the passport.
But you have to have it to fly domestically, which really doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, if you're already here? I mean, there
has to be a big problem with, I guess, And I'd like to see the numbers. There has to be a big problem with people using fake IDs
I
or
guess but
you know,
think about it. If you're a criminal and you're here illegally or whatever, and you're trying to fly across the country, it can't be that hard to get a fake ID with a star on it.
no, well,
I mean,
yeah, and that's what that was my next question is this star something that you cannot reproduce?
I don't. My daughter's got one. I don't.
Okay, okay, gotcha. So yeah, okay, yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're not. Yeah, so what Carrie's saying in our ear is that you're not supposed to be able to reproduce these things, and it basically started after 9/11, and
Yeah. Which makes sense,
just
but
increased screening. You're not supposed to be able to recreate these
mm,
IDs.
yes, no, they could do it. Well, I'll be
Okay.
honest. The TSA now is a joke. It's not what it was. It's. I mean, you can pay a few dollars, you get this
Well, I
pass,
feel like
and
all
they
the
talk to
rules
you.
with the TSA changes. It changes all the time. Like
Each
I'll have a
airport's different.
spray deodorant bottle that will get through,
Mm,
and then the next time we're coming back through a different
yes,
airport, it doesn't go through.
that's
And then
right.
I've had bottle of cologne that went through, and then they said, no, you can't carry this. And because I like to
Well,
smell good, you know?
the last time that I flew out, you could leave your computer, your laptop in your bag. So when I get ready to fly home, this guy he raises so much hell because my laptop's in the bag, and I even have a bag that just folds open. And he's like, no, no, no. I'm like, well, the airport I just left 2 days ago did this. Oh, I'm like, well, can y'all not get on the same page?
Yeah, they're not on the
Just make
same
it
page.
no.
Yeah, and these new scanners, well, I like them. There's, Tampa just got them. I know Cincinnati's got them. I'm not sure about the other airports. Those are primarily the two airports I fly in and out of the most. And they've got these new scanners now where you put in your bag and you put everything in one. You don't have to take out your computer anymore. So, I think that they're, top of the line, but,
Yeah,
who knows? I mean,
yeah.
I
Memphis
don't know
and
what the
Nashville has
benefit
that.
was to, taking out. I didn't even really understand what the benefit was taking your computer out of the bag. Like, what difference does that make?
Yeah, I mean, you're going to be able to see it. You got. I
It's
mean,
just
they've
like,
got.
yeah, it's just kind of like them saying you need to switch your phone into airplane mode on the on the plane. I mean, I've not done that for years, and it doesn't do anything. And I've always wondered, like, and maybe I took a huge risk, years ago, and I was like, if I'm not going to put my phone in airplane mode, let's see
You're going
what
to be
happens.
defiant, huh? You were
Yeah,
defiant.
and then next thing you know, we're going down. It's
Yeah.
my fault because I messed up my phone messed up the instrumentation.
Right. It's that's the one thing I will say about airports. They're none of them are on the same. They do every airport seems to do stuff so much different, and it does get confusing. And I had two ladies in front of me when I was checking or going through the last time, and I felt sorry for them because they hadn't flown in years and they didn't have a clue about it, anything. And boy, they were sitting over the side and they were having to go through all their bags, throw all this stuff away. I don't think that they were trying to pull anything over on somebody. They just truly didn't understand the rules, and they were getting blessed out by this TSA person. I'm like, you know, I don't know what a bottle of lotion is going to do to somebody. It's not like what they got through
Well, they
during
have to know
9/11.
like certain things that can go in these
Yeah,
lotions. There are certain things that they're particular about, like like I had toothpaste. I had a full thing of toothpaste, and they threw it out. It went through. It's the same toothpaste that I had the last 3 or 4 flights that I went on that I went through security, went through fine, no problem. And then one day they said you can't take this.
so what was you going to do with toothpaste?
I don't.
Because they got
That's what
what, a
I'm saying. I'm
poison?
guessing that they're finding stuff that people can sneak in the toothpaste now. I
People
would
got too much
imagine they
time.
get certain alerts. I would hope that they get some intel
Hmm.
on what is the new thing that terrorists or people are trying to do to harm us. So I don't.
Yeah, I guess you could put something like something to knock somebody out or kill them, and then spray, rub it on them or something. I guess you could do that, or maybe put something inside. But that's the one thing that I don't think a lot of people understand either is terrorists, just bad people in general. They sit there and do nothing all day but just think of ways to do
Yeah,
something
and
evil.
it's really concerning and I don't want to put any bad juju out there, but I think our drivers need to be alert. I think that's the one thing I'm a little shocked hasn't happened yet.
Yes, I could see that.
And, I think that, drivers need to, be vigilant and report any suspicious activities. I mean, thank God it hasn't happened yet, but could you imagine a driver, a terrorist taking a truck and running it into the White House or, into a building and loaded with whatever?
And you make a good point, and I think it's something that I wish the nation, and it's not because of me and you being in the industry and everything, but truck drivers are just not respected. And I think a lot of truck drivers, they're vigilant and they're looking out for, but you think about it, the truck driver, I mean, just gets smacked in the face all the time by other people on the road. They don't get respected. They go to pick up or deliver. They're not treated a lot of times very well.
And they're by
You get,
themselves. I mean, how sometimes it's got to get depressing, and I know
yeah,
it does. I've spoken with drivers that get depressed, they get down on themselves, they get short on funds, and they've got no one to talk to on the road. And sometimes they just want somebody to talk to, just want somebody to vent to. We all do. Can you imagine being on the road and all you got is yourself to think with all day long? And then you've got your wife at home who's mad that you're on the road, probably.
Or don't have enough money,
Yep, or don't have enough money, and you got kids, dealing with various issues, and you're trying to do the best you can to manage that on the road. It's difficult. I give it up to them because it's definitely not so. And I've talked with so many drivers over the years that have discussed some issues that they're going through, and sometimes that they make bad decisions because of it.
Mm-hmm.
They don't
They're
think
not
it
appreciated.
through, not appreciated at all.
No, but that makes it tough on them for sure.
Yeah. Well, we want to help drivers, and we want to help them through Ready App. We're already towards the end of our show. I can't believe we've been on 58 minutes.
It goes fast.
Did we get to all of our topics? Yeah. Did we get to all of our topics today? I think we did. So the only thing we didn't get to was about Ready App. We're getting really close. The Ready App team's getting really close to putting this out there. If you haven't gone on, you can go on for free. Tell them how they can get on for free, Justin.
Yeah, so we are excited. I'm looking forward to getting it out to the masses. But it's ready-app.com. You can download the app.
If you got Android or Apple, you can download the app for free. Upload your profile, create your profile.
Yep, create that profile. As I always say, it's going to be a big plus for you drivers and owner ops. Go in, create this free profile. You can put all your documents that you need to onboard somewhere, to need stuff if you're going to be working with a broker, if you're going to be working with the DOT. We're going to have everything there. So you can put in your CDL, your medical card, 2290. Traffic tickets, accident reports, title. I mean, anything that you need will be in one spot for you. And I think that's going to be a huge thing, is organization. So you go in, you create that. We've got a DOT application that you can fix up, and that's good until you get another job. And so you can send that to any carrier that's partnered with us. We've got tons of jobs from company drivers to owner ops, flatbed drives, and reefer power only loads will be in there. You get everything filled out. You see a job you like, you click on apply. All your documents will be sent right then to the onboarder. It's going to save, I say it takes 21 to 25 days to get a driver onboarded, which I think, and I know Jonathan agrees, is absolutely insane. It should be a 1 week at most process. Yeah. So you go do this, you download that, you send your stuff to the carrier. All the carrier has to do is call you, maybe go over, the details and fine tune, make sure you're a good fit, make sure you're a fit for them, vice versa. Boom, they can send you a drug test all in the same day. You take that drug test, typically 2 to 3 days later, that's back. They've got all your information. You sign some documents and you're ready to go on the road, which is going to save everybody money. It's going to save you drivers thousands of dollars, because it costs so much to sit for 3 weeks, because you're only leaving because you're in financial issues anyway. So I think that's going to be a big thing. And then, of course, we're going to partner with carriers. We're going to have a lot of different carriers in there that's posting jobs. They're going to have their own actual landing page, we call it, where you can learn about the carrier, get to know what they do, how many trucks, what they haul, where they haul. So it'll be very informative for that. So go definitely check it out. It's ready-app.com. It's still free. It'll be free for a while. So go in and get that profile done. If you have any questions about it, reach out to us. We'd love to go over any of it with you. And we should be at 100% on it within the next week or so. So I'm excited.
Yeah, it's exciting stuff. So ready-app.com. Go on today, download the app, and get in touch with Justin. He's got some postings on there. Get in touch with Justin on some excellent job opportunities. Thanks for listening today. Text us as always. I'm putting the text line on the video. It's 813-434-0101. 813-434-0101. Text us your ideas. Text us your thoughts. Any questions you have for Justin or myself.
Yeah. Or what he wants to talk about.
Yeah, let us know what you want to talk about. Anyway, so drive safe everyone. Carrie, thank you for your help.
Yep,
thank you for putting the show together. Good topics, and we'll see you guys next time. Drive safe.
Everybody be safe out there. Have a good night.